Good evening, everybody. It is July 19th. Actually, just turned July 20th here on the East Coast of the U.S., 2021, and we're going to take a look at what Bitcoin is doing, which at the moment is dying. So we've been looking at two possible scenarios here, the yellow 1 and 2, which now would be extended down here. This is at the very bottom of that 2 being valid right now, so if that's going to play out, it needs to get moving quickly. It certainly doesn't look like it wants to with the progression down, but I've seen Bitcoin come back from worse looking patterns than this, so we cannot say the bears are completely, or the bulls are completely dead yet, but it's not looking promising. So now, with that being said, I want to kind of clean this up. I rightly put down that each of these moves was an ABC. Okay, so we had all that in there. I'm just going to delete that so we have less on this chart now. The bullish perspective would still need to count this as a correction, as a WXYXZ correction, and this again is at the very bottom of what that could potentially be considered a normal Z correction there for that 2. The alternate would be here, or now at this point probably the primary, is going to be in the red count here, which I have the major 1 here and 2 here, and so we've been working on making a 3 down in this area here. I suppose it's conceivable that if we call that a 5 there, I suppose it's conceivable that is the completion of 3. Nope, never mind, I lied. Ignore that I said that because it needs to be below 1. Okay, so that being said, the best that I can then make out is that we have a 5 down to this point here, which was making a 1 of this 3. So I'm going to drag some of this stuff down a little further, extend it outwards, so we have some room here to play with. Okay. So let's delve into that real quick here. If that is the case, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 forming a 1, right? And I'll change this color here then. This little bounce is the 2 within this red 3. We are now working on the 3, which will probably come down further, and the 4 will give us a little bounce, and the 5 will come down to that point wherever that 3 ends. So I want to see if we can divulge anything, find anything out from the micro here. Let me put this down to sub. Let's call it micro. Alright, so this is the circle, orange circles within the red parentheses here. This is how we'll complete that 3. So let me see, just based on this, if I can tell where we might find some bounces. So there's the fib extension pulled from the 1, or the start of the 1 to the end of the 1, and then up to the end of the 2. So we can reasonably expect this 3 to at least get to the 1.0 extension here at 28,471, or potentially down to 27,451. I mean, they really could extend even, but I would say that this is a reasonable expectation somewhere in here to get that little micro 3 in, with a bounce up to somewhere between the 618 and 0.5, maybe a little higher, could even go up here, depending on how big the bounce wants to be. There's really not too much in the way of rules when you're dealing with these diagonals, so all of these are just kind of placeholders for now. This 3 then can certainly go about the 1382, even down to the 1618. So somewhere between 26 and 27 is a decent estimate for where that move might end. And then our 4 Again, no real hard and fast rules, but potentially up to like, retest this line once again before getting a final kick in the nuts down to the 1764 area, maybe the 1618, or potentially even down to the 20, which is down more in that 24.5 region. So that's where I'm going to put that for now, and we will see how that ends up playing out. I'm going to delete these fibs just to keep the chart a little bit cleaner. And then even more micro, might be able to tell within this. There's our 1, there's our 2. So within this 1, 2, we've got another little 1, 2 right here, like so. And so this would be basically the fibs working towards this 3, and actually that lines up very, very well with the 2.0 extension, right where I put it, right there at about 28,000, a bit over 28. So that looks like a pretty decent place to expect at least a small bounce up. And I think if we get this little breakdown that I expect overnight, and then we find a bounce here, we're going to be wanting to look at this little micro 4 wherever it tops out. Hopefully it'll give us a pattern within that is tradable, like a clean ABC, which would give us a valid endpoint for the 4, at which point we can potentially short. I'm expecting that'll be somewhere around that 30,000 range. And we can potentially short that then for the final move down in this third. And then, we can maybe, if we are feeling lucky, we can try to long this up for this 4, and then we can try to short this down for the final 5. So that is kind of the game plan there. And this, like I said, was just my confluence for the even smaller micro. Let me just put that in there just so we have it on here. This is the 5 waves that we want to see, or that we'll probably see within the 3. Where did this hit? That's the 1382 there. Yeah, I mean, this is a decent place, honestly, for this to bounce. It could extend a little bit further down still, but here's our micro 3 within 3, 4 up to here, and then 5 down to that 3. Let me change the color on this again. Let's do like a pale orange on it. And we're going to do a even smaller sub-micro on it. Okay, so there's our 1, 2, 3 is probably nearing a bottom here. 4 will get a little bounce, so maybe overnight we get a little micro bounce up and then push downwards into this area tomorrow. But this, if this is playing out, it's certainly going to continue to just be choppy as this plays out and makes its way down here. So now it could always surprise, especially being Bitcoin. If this wanted to progress downwards in a more aggressive fashion, it could certainly do that, and kind of do even a little really shallow, like this could end 3, that could be the red 4, and we can just press down right away if it wants to, and be super aggressive on that dump. So we'll just have to see how that plays out, but certainly not any time once again to be aggressive on leverage or anything of the sort at the moment. So all right, that is the update, as clear as I can make it. And again, keep in mind that we are really at the bottom of this green box, but it hasn't yet broken down. Unfortunately, I'm going to sleep here, so I won't see if it actually does or not, but you can keep an eye on that and make sure, kind of see what happens. And because that is kind of the support, I wouldn't be surprised actually for it to hold here for at least maybe overnight. I might wake up and see it come up here anyway, and if it's looking weak, I might just short that just for a little scalp. But anyway, we'll see where we are in the morning, and go from there. So all right, that's the update for now. There's our bearish path more mapped out, and if the bullish path plays out, it's going to have to do it right now and then break this green line. So those are the scenarios that we have at the moment. Alrighty, good night everybody, and stay safe.